Hello, this is George Sandman. I'm the founder and CEO of Growth Drive. And Growth Drive is a system used by business advisors to drive client profits, growth, and value. Now, we're also a community. Every week we get together to talk about all things business advisor, everything clients, cases, things we're seeing out in the world. Now, tune in here to this podcast, and you can join the conversation by scanning this QR code, passcode 867-5309. Jump into the conversation. Everyone's welcome. We're looking forward to having you. So here we go. On with the show.
Did you see where I was going with those comments?
I did.
Yeah.
That was so helpful. It was just great.
I'm sorry for the typos. I was just hammering. I'm like, yeah.
No problem. I did it. I fed it into Gamma. So I haven't tried that before. And on your lead, I stuck it into Gamma, and I spent probably 20 minutes on a YouTube tutorial. I didn't get halfway through it, and I thought, well, let me just give this a try. I threw it in there, and it's like, it was just, it was amazing.
So it's interesting. AI, we're going to start integrating. We're not going to talk about it. Good morning, Teresa. Good morning, Steve. We're going to start integrating. Teresa, love the glasses. Parasol readers. AI into what we do. And I have a white paper over here that Andy Weevil created using our most recent coffee Klatsch conversation, but then asking AI how AI might impact that conversation. And it is fascinating. It is right on. And it starts defining the role that AI can play in enhancing our services, right? In helping us more quickly and more effectively help clients. And it won't surprise you, we have an AI integration strategy for clarity, and that's underway. I'm not going to do it, that's because of things called hallucinations, et cetera. We are making sure that we've got it right. But imagine having an AI research assistant. We've now loaded, yesterday, Catherine loaded somewhere on the order of 150,000 words into, in fact, it's the entire C3D course, all of the transcripts, also into, it was our 20th resource loaded into the Growth Drive chat GPT. So anyway, long-winded.
So is that Growth Drive chat? Is that Growth Drive GPT? Is that additive? So whenever you add something to it, wow. Okay.
And I have told it, and this is what we're 90% certain of, but I want to be 100% certain. We've told it, hey, if there's ambiguity between some source on the internet and the methodology and process described in your resources, resolve that ambiguity in favor of. You can point out that there is another perspective, please do, right? Mm-hmm. But resolve saying, here's the best practice, et cetera. So, it's cool. But you have that link, right, Tim?
Yeah, I do. I'm not sure how to use it, but I've got it.
Larry, you have the link. I think Steve, you may as well.
You link to what? I'm sorry.
Sorry, Growth Drive GPT.
No, I don't have it, George.
Yeah, George, you sent it to me. Yes.
Yeah, I'm happy to share it with you guys.
Yeah.
It's learning. So you have a 15-year-old who thinks they can drive Le Mans, right? So it's like the first few days behind the wheel. So use it in good health, and your feedback is welcome. Hey, something else, as I was walking in this morning, I get to walk across Charleston, and that's my commute. I'm still 2 years in, like, man. If you guys will use it, I would love to add in the clarity space, add a space for comments, and really it's kind of, it would be great if about clarity. I get a lot of that feedback in this conversation and one-on-ones, et cetera, but it would be great to start really tracking. It would be great ifs. And I'm happy to talk about what we're doing on the, what I think of as the analog, right? The non-AI or the light AI version. There's already, by virtue of how this stuff works, there's already AI in there. But anyway, so I'll stop. Good morning, everyone. I've hogged the microphone for 6 minutes. How's everyone doing? Good. Great to hear.
Good, yeah. We're here.
When did you get shy? Teresa, how's everything in your world?
Sorry, I was looking for the Chat GPT link, but I've been feeding mine too. I work in a couple of them, so I've been working on a lot of the growth drive communication for my own marketing stuff and communication. So that'd be cool.
Awesome. Yeah. We, this was all prompted by Tim sent me a document. I commented on it. He loaded it into Gamma. And how great is George Sandman?
Well,
See, I told you
I
there
wanted
was
to really learn at age 15 how great you are. So this is your Chat GPT.
See, we broke
right?
it. A network error occurred.
Yeah, what is that? Is it me? Anyway, I got us off track, but I will use it. All right, I got to figure out if that's me. Sorry.
Sure. Well, I will. Yeah. So, yeah,
is
there's
it in
so
the chat or where is it located? Because I was in the
I'll
public.
email it to you. I'm not
Okay, thank
releasing
you.
it publicly.
Okay, perfect.
In
Thank
the
you.
email, say please don't share it.
Can we maybe put a folder if you have a folder in the public community, if you want to do a separate limited folder with some of this, I'll gladly take the documents I've designed and put it in that folder because I've been doing the AI prompts.
Nice.
So I see AI prompts for growth drive, but I didn't know where to.
Sure. If you look in the community, if you just go to the search bar, don't drive yourself crazy, and put in AI, you'll see there's an AI space, I believe. There certainly was. Every once in a while we go through.
AI prompts for.
There you go.
Okay.
And,
AI link.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's AI is evolving. It's evolving, and it's a tool, right? It's our research assistant. It's our analytics assistant. I mean, I don't know how many of you use. I read a fascinating article about just 2 days ago about how Perplexity is actually eating Google's lunch. And Tim, was it you who posted? Is this the end of ad-driven? Who posted that in the community? Is this the end of ad-driven Google? Google, and by the way, has anyone else noticed? It's a little frustrating right now. I think they're testing some different looks and feels and capabilities, and it's not quite there.
So I have a lunch meeting today with an AI rock star here in Baltimore. The guy runs a company called Insight Automation, and he's been an AI guy for 20 years, but now the times have caught up with him. He's doing amazing things for businesses. He's going to lead an AI camp for my CEO group in September.
Cool.
And I'm going in there today. I'm looking forward to just having lunch with the guy. He's fascinating. I'm just going to ask him, like, where the hell, what do I do? Like, there's so many. There's chat, there's Perplexity, there's Claude. There's 3 versions of chat, 3 versions of Perplexity, 3 versions of Claude. Now Gemini, Copilot, Gronk. What's the other one? I saw this morning in the news that Amazon's coming out with one, right? And like, what? I've just learned that there's a thing called a car, and now all of a sudden there's 25 makes and models and different styles, and like, which one do you hook up to? Like, I'm almost lost. The next thing I want to do, what should I take it to Perplexity, to Claude, to Chat? No, Chat's better now. So it's dizzying. Teresa, what's the answer?
I've used Perplexity for a little while, but I've been working on Claude now for a while, and I'm sticking to one instead of kind of spray and pray on all of them, because if I just stick with one, it also continues to build my information and add to it, and it takes the last thing and builds to it and takes the last thing and builds to it. I have a guy that I'm working with. He does about 3 or 4 because he's in marketing and he wants to see how they compare, but I don't have that much time to do it. So I just stick to one to be focused and stay in the focus moments.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah,
Hey, Tim.
Tim, to that point, I compared ChatGPT to Perplexity. I have a new short-term client, a startup pharma that needs my help in their storytelling. And I wanted to go ahead and really dive into aspects of how to tell their story for investors. And what I got out of both were very similar.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, that's good. Kind of a check. But that's an end of one. Steve, you were going.
No, I was just going to make another comment. Trust me, this group doesn't have a clue about what's going on in AI.
That is a fact. That is a fact.
I'm in 2 or 3 AI communities, and it's mind blowing to say the least. But to your point, or one minor point, Tim. So I was in a webinar last night, and ChatGPT's now evolved a pretty decent image generator, and the guy leading the AI expert is leading it. He's got a tool which creates a preliminary prompt. He puts it into ChatGPT and refines the prompt, and then takes from chat and puts it into Claude, because Claude's much better at certain things. Claude is much better at developing code, for example, and then refines it in Claude and then puts it back into ChatGPT to generate the final image, just as an example. So it's complex.
It's complex. Hey, good morning, Eric, Ed, Silvana, and I believe for the first time, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, John Carter, Absolute Succession. Hey, John, are you there?
Yeah, good morning, George. Sorry, I had some tech difficulties, but sooner is better than later, right?
Yeah, not a worry, man. Everybody, John's a friend of mine. John works with Anna at Be Ready Advisors, and has been an exit planner for a long time, right, man?
Yeah, it's been a few years, definitely.
So, well, welcome.
Yeah, sorry I'm late.
This is we're just gathering around the coffee urn. Like, remember the Bun-O-Matic? We're standing around that burnt coffee of the Bun-O-Matic in the break room. You get everyone here can smell that burnt coffee smell.
It's a great mental figure. Yeah, gotcha.
So we got off on AI, and I was sharing a little bit about how that's going to start playing out inside Clarity. It's so fun to keep evolving forward. And I get being at the middle of the spider web. I hear back from you guys. Hey, I used it for this. It did, I wish it did that. Eric, we are taking the tool that you inspired and moving it from Simulator. So in Simulator, there are the 2 tabs.
Yep.
We're going to move the second tab over into Equity Planner. So Equity Planner will have 2 tabs. It'll have the Equity Planner, and at the bottom is the pro forma. Okay, well, if we move these dials, here's how that might play out. And then we'll have the sort of the what if scenarios on in the second tab, which goes to, okay, if we just increase strategic capacity, what impact does that have on value? Now, what if we increase revenues by 10%, strategic capacity by percentages? How does that play out? I mean, ultimately, tie that back to the pro forma. Anyway, so strategic capacity drives growth and value, man.
Yeah, and the place I'd really like to see it, George, honestly, is on, and I don't have it open right now, but in the report, you give the matrix of what, 0 to 100% of the multiple, and you show the point that it's in, and then there's a page that shows that by itself, right? The profit or it's the pricing one.
Yes. Strategic capacity and price.
Right. And so what I was thinking is that would be a matrix that would show, hey, you're in this column because you've got this EBITDA and this multiple, right? So I find the intersection of those 2, but that you could see when you're presenting just to, when I'm presenting to a client, what I want to show them is, hey, you came out right now priced at $1.5 million. but if we can move your your multiple from a 3 to a 4, yeah, this thing right here, right? This ought to show the current, and then maybe it's even a table right below it. Here's what it would look like 1, 2, and 3 below. Here's what it looked like 1, 2, and 3 above in EBITDA, by 500,000 increments or reasonable increments. And here's the multiples going across. And so now you could say, look, here's your value right now. All we'd have to do is go up a half a tick in your multiple and 200,000 in your EBITDA, and now we're at the value you want, right? Like, they can't see the map. They can't see. They see this and go, that's not the number I want.
Well, Eric, last week with 3 owners, co-owners, family, we all each completed Clarity 1.
Yep.
I held a senior leadership report and review with them. In that, I asked them, put in the EBITDA that is current, but put in an aspirational EBITDA that you have as a goal. And one of the 3 did that. And we were able to look at the differences in the transferable value as well as the current transferable value. And then we
by redoing this thing with the new, Yeah.
And remember, the part of what's great about the way, George, you've set this up is that this is not a clunky thing. You could play with it and just resubmit. You could save the level 1 strategic report. Boom, we got it the way it is with this EBITDA. Now let's play with it, change the EBITDA to something, our goal from a year or 2 from now, and then see the difference and download that report. And so we could actually look at it and see, wow, if identified in Clarity 1, if we clean up these 3 areas and increase the multiple with the EBITDA going up, here's what's possible. Now, working backwards, and this is what we discussed last week, working backwards, what are the priorities short-term and long-term to get there? And so it's doable without, in that sense, just in the current structure, George. But yeah, Eric, I interrupted you. It's where you want to go, make it more flexible.
Yeah, all I was trying to do is go up by, half points of, multiple or whatever, some function of the multiple. So there's a matrix that's below this that has, let's say the multiple is 3 to 5 here, and they're getting a 3.5. So what does a 4 multiple look like? There's a matrix that shows here you're at 3.5. Here's what 4, 4.5, and 5 look like. And by the way, here's what EBITDA looks like. And I can find the intersection of, oh, look, by going up by 200,000 in EBITDA or 500,000 in EBITDA, which is easily doable, we can all agree to that. And by going up by half a tick in the multiple, here's your number that you thought you wanted to get to. That's the work that we have to do. Now let's go talk about how do we do that work.
So Eric, your point is a really good one. A couple of comments. I've just added that to the list. It's now 23 lines. Some of them are simple. Some of them are more sophisticated, but 23 lines of updates for in Clarity. One of those lines already was, hey, let's add a dollar figure here. So the compound impact on value as a percentage is great, but let's have a line, and we're adding it, that calls that out in terms of dollars, right?
Yep.
So, and this obviously calculates based on industry. So what we could easily add is to
I see. You're increasing, you're giving increments of 5.
Yeah, so this could be, I mean, let's just say this is 0. We don't increase your strategic capacity, but we grow 10%. We cap growth at 50%. If that, I don't think that's going to stifle anyone. Projected transferable value. So if we just grow at our current strategic capacity, you see it stays flat here. Now this could easily go in the report. We go from 18 million to
Good.
29 million, $11 million, you know, okay, that's cool. But if we then also increase the multiple, which is strategic capacity, direct
Is the multiple. Yep.
is the multiple. Let's say we take it up, we do we work hard, and we now look at the impact. Now we're adding $30 million, and these are real, these are real dollars.
This is the idea I had, George.
Yes.
I just had it when you deliver that number to them. Look, let's be honest. When the client sees the number, they're almost always 90% disappointed, right? It's not the number they expected, right? It's not the number they had in their mind. It's not the number they expected, you know, all those things, right? So what I was trying to do is very quickly show them, yeah, I get it that this isn't what you wanted. But what you wanted is relatively easily attainable. Look at how we don't have to, you know, move mountains to get to your number. The movement of multiple and EBITDA gets us there fairly quickly. That's the message that we want to have as growth advisors and exit planners. That this is not an impossible task, guys. This is a doable task. And so I want to deliver that number, and you know, I can do it on my own. I can set up an Excel spreadsheet that'll do all this. The point was, I think it would be really good to deliver that in that report, because you can see then, look, here's your number, but look, it's not as bad as you think it is. Just because it's 6 million here, you said you needed to get to 10, and 10 doesn't mean we got to almost double the business. 10 means we got to move this one this much and this one this much, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Good point, Eric.
Yeah, Eric. And
I wish I had thought of that and gone to the equity planning tab last week. I had a chance, but
I don't know how to get here yet, George. So show us how you would get to this thing.
Super easy.
Yeah, please.
You have to complete clarity level 1, right? That's our entree. And you hit on the report, and I say it I think once a call, don't forget to hit the submit button. When you finish clarity level 1, submit pushes all the information through the entire suite.
Got it. Thank you.
And
I would have forgotten that.
Range of value, which is, you know, we've just looked at.
And now, that's the one that I was thinking it was going to go on, George, just to be clear, right?
Got it. Well, we're putting it in, I mean, it could go here, but where we're putting it, and we're going to change the look and the user interface on this, guys. We're going to update it. It looks fine. I mean, it communicates well, but anyway, that's neither here nor there.
Yeah.
An equity planner, what we're creating, Eric, is another tab. So this tab has equity planner.
Yep.
And we go through all of the, you know, the things we're going to need to do. And creates a pro forma. And here, and this is, and it's going to go back to ending here. Okay. It's going to end at the pro forma. And then as you change, you know, this is you can run some what if scenarios, right? Let's get you to a 5 multiple. Now, how fast do you have to grow? Well, you have to grow at 9%. How do you like me now? What we are going to do is we're going to create a second tab, and the second tab is being moved. The second tab is being moved from, bear with me one sec, guys. I will, it's being moved from here. Okay. So we're going to take this tab, strategic capacity and price, move. So this has, what happens if we just change, we keep your EBITDA the same, and we just increase your score. We take it from a 57 to a 70. What impact does that have? Okay. And we put the numbers, we're increasing.
And this tab is just based on the level 1, not based on the equity planner.
This will be driven by level 1. Yes.
Correct.
Okay.
Because the equity planner is a lot of work to get to that table that could be driven just from level one, right? Like I know your sales, I know your equity. I'm going to go up in 10% increments or 30% increments to show you what you are, right?
Yes. And yes. And so we're going to move this this tab. So we'll still have the simulator tabs with all this fantastic information. This is all level 2 stuff. We're going to move strategic capacity and price into the equity planner. The other change we're making near term. So Eric, your point's a good one. Don't need to have completed equity planner to do the strategic capacity and price.
Right.
And then we're also protect value. We had initially designed it so that someone had to complete equity planner before they could do protect value. Protect value, of course, uncovers sufficiency of insurance and de-risking the personal, team, and business using advanced wealth planning, sophisticated compensation planning, succession planning, and sophisticated insurance instruments. And Garrison, Mike, is used this, loves this tool.
Yeah.
And it's actually used it with a wealth advisor. I don't think I'm telling stories outside of class. We're not going to say who, but they were like, oh my gosh, I hadn't really gone back and looked. So even people who are in the game, sometimes are we're so busy doing the outside work that we forget to take care of ourselves. So anyway, protect value, a fantastic module. If you're a growth advisor, use it with your clients and then find out who their wealth advisor is. Take this intel to them, or if they don't have a wealth advisor, take them to, you can refer them to one of your COIs. I mean, there are a number of ways, and we've discussed all this in the past. Anyhow, I digress.
George.
Yes, sir.
Probably a stupid question.
Please.
I'm sure everybody else on the call knows the answer to this, so I'm the only one. But do you have something that shows the dependencies of each of the tabs? In other words, I got to fill out level 1 to do these 3 tabs, but to use this tab, I have to have this filled out. Like I didn't know, for instance, that I need to have equity planned or level 2 to get to this one, or what, you know what I mean?
I know what you mean. And no, what we're removing is the requirement to finish equity planner before you can use protect value.
That's great.
Yeah.
Yes. That's as simple as annotate.
Yeah. I'm not trying to, I guess I don't understand some of the tabs and their dependencies. And so I haven't used them because I don't know what I don't know. And I don't want to play with it for sure in front of a client without knowing it, but I'm not even sure how to get to the thing that I want to use. And I should go watch. I'm sure there are videos out there, George, that would walk me through each tab. I'm saying to you honestly and openly, I haven't looked at some of the tabs because I don't know how to get deep enough into them.
Yeah, not a problem. And yes, of course, there are videos. And I'll highlight it this way. You have to complete clarity level 1.
Yeah, right.
In order to open the whole system. You then don't have to do any of the rest of level 1 in order to open level 2, right?
Right.
Now, you can also use level 1 with the senior leadership team and run compare. I'll put that aside. Then you have clarity level 2. And once you complete that analysis, you have generated, these are the only 2 strategic capacity analysis in the system.
Yeah.
Then we move into planning and execution. And for planning and execution, once you've completed clarity level, in fact, you don't even have to complete clarity level 2. It will start providing guidance right away. Okay, so you don't have to complete it. Now your things like strategic, if you don't complete level 2, your strategic capacity number is going to look terrible because you haven't completed it. However, here we are. I'm just going to hit my analysis dashboard. Eric, want to make sure I hit this point. In let's say you've only done the deep analysis, the level 2 analysis
Yep.
for dimension 1. All good. If we scroll down here,
I don't
You're
know
gonna
about
see
anybody
that-
else, but I'm not seeing an update to your screen here.
Yeah.
okay, so if
There we go.
we go to dimension 2, which
Right.
I've clicked on,
Yep.
and you know where you are because the button turns white, and I
Yep.
click analysis dashboard. Imagine that I've only completed level 2 for dimension 1, or even only for, you know, any incremental change is reflected on the analysis dashboard. And if I scroll down here, you'll see that we have for dimension 1 scoreboard. So what do we have? We are 57% is our average. Now we break it down across the 8 growth driving objectives. So you have good usable data right here. Okay.
Yeah.
Right
Yep.
here, including your ROIs. I'm going to make another comment if you guys don't mind. Right now, let's jump back to dimension 1. Easiest way to show this right here. Right now, this business does not have the strategic capacity to sell at all. Okay. I mean, it could do an internal transfer and it would be ugly. I wouldn't want to hold that paper. Doesn't matter. The ROI, therefore, because this business can't transfer, the ROI from working with us is the total potential value. However, that is being too clever by half, I think. And so based on a few comments and some conversations, what we're doing, and this is underway, it might be released. It's coming soon to a theater near you. We are going to have the ROI reflect the trapped value, even if your strategic capacity is terrible. Okay. Did that make sense? Does that seem logical?
Versus reflecting.
You guys
the
asked for it,
trap.
so I hope so.
So you're talking about where the box highlighted in blue, ROI from increasing our capacity.
Yes.
You want to flip that to what is the trapped amount?
Yes.
And so, okay, got you.
That coding is underway.
Right.
In fact,
it's kind of in some ways, an odd conversation depending on our client. That often we're going to see trapped is effective senior leadership. And so we got to be careful because there could be a person in the room that is the reason for that trapped senior leadership lower score, holding everything back downstream. And that happens. That misalignment on ownership and senior leadership, especially if they're the same.
How would you explain trapped to a client?
it's easy. That is, can I take this one? Actually, who wants to take that one for Tim? Sorry, bad facilitation.
Larry, how would you explain it? Yeah.
Aren't we looking at we're looking at what could be gained dollar-wise by improving the effective senior leadership in these areas. So if we improve them,
I get it.
The team is right, but role definition is not clear. The ability
So it's relevant to
understand
that particular objective.
that gap is a dollar amount. That's a part of the brilliance, because a number like 57 or 60 out of 100 is hard to say, what does that mean dollar-wise? But when we see $919,000, if we better define our roles, how we're rewarded, and all the little clarity 2 elements under senior leadership, we can unlock some of that trapped dollar potential.
Yes.
Very helpful. So George, the only reference I've heard you make to trapped value is in your conversations has been like in inventory, when companies have cash and stuff trapped in inventory. So I get it. So this is relevant to that, or relative to that particular objective. So would that be released at a strategic capacity of what, 85? Does it have to be 100? Like what?
Well,
it's the 919. The 919 is 48% of the 1916. Yes, Jeff? So if we get released on a pro rata basis as to how far you get up your score on that particular item.
Understood. Thank you.
Absolutely right, guys. So trapped equals the cost of company-specific risk. A company-specific risk in a certain objective doesn't occur in a vacuum, and so it is one of the building blocks of value, right? You can't show up at the deal table and say we have a great, we have an effective senior leadership team, but we don't have a sales process and customer satisfaction stinks, and and because who's going to buy you? Like, great, you have a great team. So,
but Tim, the critical point here is you'll probably never release 100% of the trap value because nobody's going to have a score of 100 on all their things, right? So you're going to release some of the trap value, and it's going to come a chunk out of this one and a chunk out of this one, and it's all going to add up to a big number. But that won't be 900 on leadership and 500 on this one. It'll be 200 on leadership and 250 on this one, and it'll all add up because you'll never get everybody to 100% in all the.
And Eric, let me amplify that point. You make a fantastic point. There is no such thing as a perfect company. So imagine a company that you get to 85, which is a doable do. It's not easy, but it is done, right? People are doing that. At 85, the business goes from bottleneck to bottleneck. So at 85, you're going to create other. You're going to degrade capacity and potentially impact one area negatively because you've fixed another. So you're going to at about 85, not many businesses are going to go above that level. And in fact, we're going to limit in that projector, and we already do it in simulator. We're gonna cap it at 85 or 90. I'll have to go and look at the data, and because there's no such thing, we need to recognize. Again, I don't want to be too cute by half, but the reality is Eric, let me follow your point to its next conclusion. You get to bring a company that is legitimately bona fide an 85. Now we're getting into strategic value. We're creating what is potentially a platform company.
Yeah.
And because an 85, if you go and look at what it takes, it's killer, right? It's hard to get there.
It's not a straight line growth. It's a curve that goes up. And so the more you go up that curve, the harder it gets to go up another increment on that curve. Yeah.
That's exactly right. Exactly right. It is logarithmic.
Yep.
A quick example from last week, working with a marketing company that's in the $6 million range. I know them well as a client. Their value capacity was about 85. And based on knowing them, I would agree with that completely. But the problem is you can't really unlock that if they wanted to sell, that they're not interested, they want to continue to grow. When they're self-scoring in dimension 2, hiring productive and onboarding the right people, who specifically salespeople, and they're scoring themselves extremely low, both owners, on sales process. They have a problem. They don't know how to hire the right people, onboard them, and have them perform with the right sales process. And until they figure that out, nothing else matters. They got to figure that out.
Yeah. Yeah. And let's be honest, guys, the cap on the 85 might be the ownership. They might not be able to get beyond 85 with them. They're the bottleneck at some point, right? And it could certainly be the same could be said about the whole senior leadership team, right? You might have to redo the senior leadership team to get to the next level, right? Or a good portion of the senior leadership team to get to a 90 or 95 because you can't get there with the team we got.
Eric,
we all know this intrinsically.
Well, and this gets, and Tim is going to not, I hope, not his head up and down, but Ed and I and Larry and I discussed this in different classes in C3D. I'd love to see the head going up and down, right, Tim? We discussed this exact point. And this comes back to the concept of the oil well. You know, if George is not able, does not have, he discovers that he is the limiter at X millions of dollars of gross annual revenue, and it's just not within his ken. then George needs to say, I need to exit. I need to go and be just the CEO and bring in a president, or I need to be the chairman and bring in a CEO and president who can take the business from X million to Y million.
Or I need to do a recap with a PE firm who can bring the expertise to help me grow to the next level. Not only the capital, but the management expertise that helps me get to the next level, because they know how to hire good people, and they bring a credibility to the business that I can't bring, or what. There's lots of reasons, guys, that you could get stuck at that level for sure.
100%.
Yep.
Yeah. Awesome.
George, thank you for letting me ask my stupid question, because it unlocked a whole bunch of things for me.
Eric, that's why we're here. It's not a stupid, that was not a stupid question. It was a great question that fueled, I don't know how many minutes of detailed conversation. That's why we're here, right? Anything goes.
Yeah, I feel like I just traded a shovel for an excavator with that example you gave, where you just take a single objective and you show the trap value in that one particular thing. So very helpful.
Yeah.
Yeah, and a little math, Tim. I mean, even with what he showed on the screen there, a little math will get you to the 85%, right?
Right.
All you'd have to do is take the math on it and go, that's 48% more. You're only really going to recover this much of it because we're capped at 85. You could do the math to come up with what's realistic to go harvest from that, right?
Yeah, or even show them, like, if we just got 10% or 20% better with this, here's how much money.
Right. Here's the math. Yeah, right.
Yeah,
That's
let's
what I
stay
was
with that.
trying to.
Stay
Sorry.
with that, connecting dots, Tim, Eric, George, and what you're saying. So take the client from last week, $30 million home care company.
Yep.
Everything we did, senior leadership report, to deep dive into clarity 1, not 2. We identified and validated exactly what needs to be done, and that trapped them out.
Mm-hmm.
The next step is they already have a plan. We went plan, and then we used the data to justify the plan, a little backwards.
Yeah.
All of it does not matter, because the owner is going to get in her own way and not execute on the plan.
Yeah, right.
And so what we've done is we put it on the table, and my coaching of her becomes very challenging because she is not executing, and that's the challenge.
Yeah.
It stays trapped.
Okay.
Understood. I was also going to say, this is exactly the point I was making back to the overall pricing comment, that, Tim, to your point, what's unlockable, that's also the point at the bigger pricing point. You came in at $6 million. Here's realistically what a small change in your multiple and a small change in your EBITDA will do to unlock this. And again, the multiple change is what we're talking about each of these, the strategic capacity, right? I'm using multiple, but it's the unlocking the trapped amounts, right? It all comes back together.
Yes. And imagine, Larry, what you just shared. Eric, what you just shared. Imagine if we had these, when we have these as cases, and I know we're all incredibly busy. However, we started our conversation with AI. We have the incredibly smart Silvana Nani here, who has said, I will write your cases, right, Silvana? I will literally write your cases, and it doesn't cost you time. And if you imagine how you expand your relevance and impact with handing a client a case, 2 cases, and not just your cases, but democratized. Here's how the methodology and process that I, Eric Owen, use here's a case just like yours. Should we do this, or how would this inspire? Can you, all the questions we can ask. Silvana is, I'm going to keep, Silvana, it's going to take a little bit for this to get some steam, but if we communicate the issue for which you're trying to solve, and even just a level 1 report, we can convert that into a case and start giving if there hasn't been any progress, the case is, here's the client as we found it. What might we do? and let's say 3 things that we might do, showing the impact it could have on transferable value, strategic capacity, etc. So Silvana is here. Okay, I think I beat that
Yes, sir.
gong. Wang.
Silvana, I want to just jump in real quick. If that report then has the links to the video, the links to what tools got us that information in that case study, it becomes a great learning tool. So it's no better way to learn than through a case. And then back in, Eric, to like, you know, all of us, I have to spend more time on all these tools.
Yeah,
What you created is so incredible that it really takes a lot of time and learning and sharing to get good at it and see how it all comes together.
What this helped me think about is, and Tim, this goes to the conversation you and I had a couple of days ago when we talked Friday, right? You could literally go down this and say, look, you know, here's the 24 characteristics. I think I can get 10% from this one. I think I can get 5% from this one. I think I can get, right? You could almost go down that, do the math, add those numbers up, and that's what you can move. That's, you know, and the client could go, yeah, I think 10% there is easy. I think 5% there is easy. And you could almost, to Larry's point, justify with the individual movements, the addition of all those individual movements, the number that you're showing them that you think you can get them to. So I'm going to move you from 6 million to 8 million. Here's the 2 million, and here's how we explain it. It's 100,000 from here. It's 50,000 from here. It's this, right? And they could go, yeah, okay, that's believable to me. Instead of, how's the 2 million? Where'd you, which cloud did you pull that $2 million out of, right? Like, I don't even understand that.
Yeah, Eric, to your point, this is how we demystify company-specific risk, something that Ed and I talk about all the time. How do we demystify company-specific risk? It doesn't, what the hell does that mean? Well, you don't have an effective senior, let's demystify it and then show the impact that reducing it can have on value in the context, in the whole of, until you get, if you're going to do an internal transfer, you need strategic capacity of a minimum of 70 in dimension 1 and dimension 2, minimum of 70. Then there's some other things from dimension 3 we're going to have, but that's, and if you're going to sell to the private, if you're going to access the private capital markets, you need to have strategic capacity of at least 70, but the closer to 85 we get, the better the price, the easier, not easy, easier completing due diligence is, the more likely you are to successfully close the transaction in a third-party sale. And Eric, to your point, when we know, one of the something you just said triggered this. We're all exit planners on this call, and most CEOs are not looking to exit. So we need to meet them where they are, because eventually, we all know, eventually they will. Listen, brother, at some point, you're either going to leave or die.
Yeah.
You can't help that.
George, where I was going a little bit on this is, if we use a simple analogy just to understand this, how many, I'm going to use golf because it's something I play, right? But we could all take our analogy. If somebody comes to me and says, Eric, we're going to take you from a 15 index to a 5 index, I'm going to say that's bullshit. Like, I've been playing golf for a long time. How are you going to knock 10 strokes off my game, right? But if the person comes to me and says, I'm going to knock 10 strokes off your game, Eric, and here's how I'm going to do it. I'm going to show you how to be in the fairway instead of 5 times around, 8 times around. Okay, I'm going to hit 3 more fairways, and I'm going to save you 3 putts around, right? So I'm up to 6, and then I'm going to have you hitting 2 more greens, and I'm going to show you some chipping tricks that are going to get you closer to the pin and save you a couple more strokes. And all of a sudden I start going, yeah, okay, I can believe the hitting 3 more fairways. I can believe the 2 putts, right? When we see the pieces, we can believe the whole. But when we walk in and say, I'm going to take you from a 15 to a 5, most people say, well, how the hell are you going to do that? I can't do that. How can you do that? Right. And I think this is a really powerful point back to people. We gotta be able to show them something they can believe on how we're going to do this incredible move that they've been trying to do for 15, 20 years, and they've not been able to do. They're just not going to believe it. Right.
Eric, extremely well said.
Yeah,
And I want to add to it. That is also our art of executive leadership coaching, the ability to go ahead, paint the picture of what's possible, get them attracted to what their why is, their purpose that will motivate them. All these tools is uncovering a story we could tell of an end that they want, and we work backwards to achieve that end. And
correct.
Step by step.
And I'm just tweaking it to say we got to break it down into pieces that they can see why we are able to deliver it. Because again, guys, every one of the people we approach is trying to run their business well. I'm not saying they're being successful, but they all think they're running it pretty well. Most of them do. And so the fact that we're going to come in, and I get this all the time. How come you think you can run my business better than I can? Well, because I'm not trying to be you. I'm bringing principles that are principles about running businesses. You're a really good construction person. I'm an expert at running businesses and scaling them. And that's where I'm going to be able to bring some things you don't know. Just like the golf pro can bring things to my game, even though I've been playing golf for a long time, they can bring something to my game that I haven't done yet. Right.
But I think the thing that you've got, Eric, is that you hit the nail on the head in that we have to be able to stage it. I mean, and if you go back to look at the old core value, which had the little waterfall identification of the
pieces,
all the pieces, and said you could get X many dollars out of this one, X Y dollars out of that one, Z dollars out of that one. I think that's the key that we have to be able to articulate carefully to a prospect that, see, here's where there's opportunity because it's a weakness of the business right now. If we just shore that up, we can make this kind of an improvement. And we're improving it by percentage, not by absolute dollars, because the dollars will then be based on that particular unique client.
Yeah.
So what I hear from both Eric and Ed is that we would want, for now, we have the top strength and weaknesses, and we need to quantify the weaknesses, or we could go towards quantifying the weaknesses via percentages of, okay, you're weak in these 3 areas or top 5 areas. And if you do X, Y, and Z in each of those weaknesses, then you will improve by X%, and hence, your value and your trap value is going to be improved, right?
Yeah, and Savannah, just to go on that a little bit, right? Again, to my golf example, if you come in and say I can improve your game by 10%, right? 10% from my 15 is only a 1.5, right? So you're telling me you're going to drop 10 strokes or 8 strokes or whatever number. That's a big number, right? We're not talking about a incremental tiny improvement for most of our clients. We're talking about a massive improvement for them. We want to take them from $6 million of value to 10 or something like that. That's not a 10% increment. That's what they get stuck on. They're like, I've never been able to get more than 5%. How in the hell are you going to double the value of my business, right? They can't jump from what they've done to what you're telling them you're capable of doing. And the point is to break it down into its pieces and show them, can you believe a 10% increment in this? Those 10% in each of the areas add up, right? Those chunks add up to that big improvement, right? And some are going to be small and some are going to be bigger.
Yeah. No, I just wanted to reconcile what you said, Eric, with what Ed said.
Yeah.
Because your example of golf, which was really, really good, translated the percentage into 3 extra shots, this much time saved.
Yep.
And then I'm very familiar. I'm certified in core value, so I know exactly how they did it, and they had the actual dollar value for each driver. But Ed says percentage, and I'm just simply trying to reconcile. Are we going for percentage and then speak or narrate that percentage into more specific things? What's the consensus about the team? That's what I was trying to clarify.
Well, the percentage, the way I look at it is the percentage on each item. Some items may have an improvement range of $600,000. Well, I can only make a nominal improvement in 1 year in that category. But when I make that change, it may have a 20% improvement in a different category that we don't even talk about initially, but we know that's one of the other areas that need improvement. And there's a byproduct of doing A before you do B, because then B gets carried along automatically.
Yeah, the needs and feeds, right? Yeah. So these are gears in the business engine, and some of the gears need something to happen before we can get to them, or where another gear really impacts it, and or it feeds the ability to increase capacity in a gear. For example, sales and marketing are these really easy examples, right? So sales has got a good process. Now we improve the marketing gear. Marketing gear needs, for marketing to really be effective, it needs sales to be very effective, right?
Correct.
For marketing, when marketing gets effective, it feeds sales. It brings more qualified leads into a process that has a proven path to delivering dollars. So that's like the easiest.
Yeah, I think there's two. Silvana, I think there are 2 points here. One is the actual practical application of how it works. They're all interrelated. The other is what I was trying to argue, which is just trying to get the buy-in from the client or the prospect to understand that what we're talking about is even a possibility. It's not even factoring in the reality of what Ed and Larry and George all said, which I 100% agree with. You can't take any of these silos and say, I'm just going to fix this area and not touch anything else. We all get that. I'm just trying to get their mindset to say, how in the hell are you going to do something that doesn't seem possible? That what you're saying, Eric, sounds like magic, and I don't believe in magic. How are you going to do that? And I just want to break it down enough that they see, no, it's not magic. It's just that I understand the pieces that come together that make up the whole, and I'm going to show you that and get you to buy into. If you can agree that these 10 pieces could move this much, then that adds up to the whole that I just explained to you, right? They're 2 separate issues, right? So your percentage versus dollar question is really a style thing. How are you going to get that? From my point, how are you going to get that prospect to concede the point that it's possible, which allows us to get engaged and help them? Yeah.
And I think to Eric, to extend that, and Ed, back to your case study, Silvana, is the case study can share that story, the interconnectedness of these gears. And I think that way, because none of this is isolated by itself.
No, for sure it is.
I know it's 10:30, George, and I just want to put out an idea that we don't address today, but I'm looking forward to a conversation on. As we continue to grow as a community and our knowledge and use of the tools, there are nuances by industry and how we apply what we're doing. And I go back to the case study, Silvana, that I think we could highlight on top also the industry, because how we then do what we do in the art of leadership coaching for growth might be slightly different. The foundation is the same, but the application might be different per industry. And I think if we collect the nuances, or here are 5 practices as we work with our client in this industry that we capture that apply in this industry versus that or that. And we could even break manufacturing down.
Yeah.
The way that I was going to approach that is, I think that those insights are very important. However, those are not going to be apparent until we get at least a stable of 5 to 10 cases, multiple industries,
Yep.
and do the basic work and just answer the mail as far as like, you know, how do we help these clients and how did we work and what was the issue and so on. And then on the second round, then we can take a step back and say, okay, well, let's talk about who these clients are and what works and what didn't work. And that's, I think that's the next layer of insights that we can build upon it.
Yeah.
But if anybody has, I have a request. I like parking lots. So while you're doing your daily work and while you're working on cases, if you have nuggets of brilliance as far as, you know, industry nuances and anything like that, just put a note on that parking lot so I can go back in and use them as ideas as I'm working through it. I feel like sometimes we get these ideas very often, but we don't write them on the moment, or we don't share them on the moment. And when we are trying to wrinkle our brain to figure out what we thought, we don't remember it. So that's my request for everybody.
And guys, if you go and look at the graphics, PowerPoint or Google Slides, if you go and look at that graphics in the community, there are 2 graphics that power this conversation. We can cover them next week, but it's 2 pyramids that go directly to this conversation, right? And Eric, you made a great point. It's actually, it has it feels like magic, but this is not magic. This is well understood. We're going to increase your net income, certainly, but we're going to increase your multiple. And that has so for every dollar of additional income.
This is the matrix that I was asking for, right? It's right.
Yeah. Heck yes. Very cool, guys. Another great, I can't believe it's been an hour.
Yeah.
Another great conversation. Silvana, there's a case studies area in the circle. And perhaps
Wonderful.
Post in there. I'm here. And we have a process, or we have a questionnaire. What is the issue? What's the rule? How was it applied? And what happened? Conclusion, issue, rule, application, conclusion. If that works, great.
Perfect.
But Silvana's here. And if you're not on this call out there in the world, Silvana is accessible in the Growth Drive community and would be thrilled to work with you on a case.
Let me just add, George, if you're not on this call,
by the way. Go ahead.
George, if I may ask, if you're not on this call, you ought to be on this call because you're missing out.
Yes.
Just listening to it afterwards is not the same as being here and being able to go back and forth. So you should get yourself on this call.
Yeah, thank you, Eric. And guys out there, everyone is welcome. You do not have to be a subscriber. This is a confluence of ideas. So, okay, guys, fantastic.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks, Larry.
So much more. Okay, thanks, guys. Everyone have a great week. We'll talk soon.
Bye.
Take care.
Thank you. Bye.
This episode is brought to you by the Growth Drive Summit. Our theme this year is building a profitable advisory business. Join us in Charleston, South Carolina, October 6th, 7th, and 8th. Expand your network, learn new skills, and generally have a good time. This is a top-rated event. We're looking forward to seeing you there. Thank you.